Okay, so when people talk about lead times, they don't think about sampling. They don't look at this part of the process that basically is so fundamental to the successful delivery of your collection. What makes it hard is that during this process, you're designing and iterating a product whilst also making approvals and committing to things that are going to get sourced and arrive at the time that it needs to arrive at for the production to start. It's like an intricate dance that happens for many months, and this is happening with hundreds of different products across different factories, across teams. And so it really is, for me, the most complex and challenging part of the entire process. Right back at the start of Supply Compass, before we'd even built the sample loop, we were working with a brand who requested a sample from a factory. In the sample request, they asked for it to be an embroidery, and in the tech pack, it said print. The factory made it according to the print in the tech pack. The wrong sample arrived. The snowball effect of them being two different parts of information in the request versus the tech pack was the factory didn't question it. They looked at the single source of truth of the tech pack, came to the brand, they got angry, and they thought the factory wasn't good enough. And so this small breakdown in communication and making small mistakes can have really big implications beyond just that product and that run, but also the relationship between the brand and that factory. Have you ever approved a sample on WhatsApp, done something really quite important, and then found out in production that it just hadn't been implemented? And you go scrolling back through your WhatsApp and you go, no, but I said on the 14th of September last year. So this is so common, and this costs so much, not just financially, environmentally, socially. This is a real problem, and I think we've got to look at how communication happens in a more structured way within supply chains if we want to move towards more efficient processes and iron out these quite costly mistakes that happen really regularly. There's often these weeks wasted where things are going back and forth, but actually being able to visualize and give feedback to that sample before it leaves is the best time for the factory to make those amendments and make those changes. The biggest problem with sampling is that there is no structure to it. The way that people approach it is that they just go, yeah, we'll have that in our sample size. But actually you're asking your factory to do a mini production run every time you're doing a sample. They've got to get the materials in. They've got to manage in the background that everything arrives on time for that product to be made. It doesn't really make a difference that it's 2 rather than 2,000 of that product, because the same preparatory process is there. Particularly when you're doing things like photo shoot samples, which is, pixel perfect example of your product where everything is as it's going to be in production. Well, that means that you've got to approve all these things first. And so it should be taken as seriously as a production run. You should be ordering those things in the same way. You should be approving things in a way that you'd approve your final tech pack and start to go into production. How do you know where your samples are at? Because no one is tracking where their samples are at. It's basically like if you start off a relay race and you fell at the first hurdle and then you went to the next person and handed them the relay baton, you'd be spending your whole time playing catch up. If you don't get the start right, then how are you meant to get the bits that come after right? And so focusing on that sampling process first will set you and the factory up for success.